Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Modeling Time with me, Brian Banna. If you watched my video on the review of the ScaleTrains SD45, then you know I have 4 ScaleTrains SD45s, and that is the subject of this episode of Modeling Time. Actually, it's going to be the subject of a few episodes because I'm going to do a video build on these 4 units. So getting right into it, the first thing we need to do with these models is disassemble them. So I'm going to get the camera set up over here. I've got 3 of them disassembled and 1 to go, and I'll show the disassembly on this episode of Modeling Time. Alright, so as you can see, I've got 3 of the shells disassembled. Their drives and everything are in a project box. The 3 that I've disassembled, I've got all their parts in their respective parts bags, so they're not all thrown together, just in individual bags for each locomotive. So what we need to do first is to get this 4th locomotive disassembled. So what you're going to need for that is a screwdriver and some tape. And I'll show you what the tape's for. It's not for disassembling. So let me see if I can bring a little bit more light in on the subject. How's that? That looks alright. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do, pop off the dynamic brake hatch. And I've got myself a piece of foam here that I can set the locomotive on. This is one of those foam packing pieces that come in like an Athearn Genesis locomotive box. And I am going to take the couplers off. So we're just going to go in here with the screwdriver, take the couplers out, I won't be using the couplers. Let me get the screw out. There we go. So those will just go aside. Get the screw out. Now I'll be putting the screw back into the shell because it screws into the shell, not into the frame. But for right now, the coupler boxes I will put in the detail parts baggie, or the draft gear boxes, or the buffer plate, or whatever you want to call it. Alright, now we can take the shell off. There we go. And the drive will go into the project box. There we go. Now, I like how ScaleTrains attaches the cab and the sub base. It's through these screws right here. So what I'll do is I will take these screws out. There's one. Sometimes they don't want to cooperate. There we go. There's the other one. Now the cab assembly should just pop out. Now it's going to get stuck a little bit, so just wiggle it out, and there it is. Now to get the cab off the sub base, let me zoom in here a little bit. You've got 2 tabs back here, here and here. Let me turn that around. So you got tab, where'd they go? Tab here and a tab here, and you've got 2 clips, one here and one here. So you just want to carefully hold those. Get this down a little bit. There we go. And unclip the fronts and unclip the backs, and it comes apart like that. Now when they put these screws in, These are self-tapping screws that they use. These guys here, these small ones. If you look closely, they're pretty aggressive and they pull plastic up like that because they're threading themselves into it. So before I put this away, I'll just trim that little bit of plastic off the top there. And there. Now before I put these screws back in, I'll make sure there's no plastic wound around the threads. So I'll just clean them up with the toothbrush. If there's any plastic in the threads, make sure you get it out. And we will just put those screws right back in. Now you don't want to put them in tight, just a couple twists is fine. This will store them until you're ready to work on the sub base. There we go, and that part will go into the detail parts bag. Now with the cab, we need to get the glass out. So with that, very easy. Put those screws aside so I don't lose them. Screwdriver again. You've got two screws, one here and one here, that hold in all of the light glass and number board glass. So we're just going to take those screws out. I'm going to lift that piece out. Get that screw out of there. There we go. Now I'll put the screw back through the hole. It has a very tight clearance fit, so you got to just kind of push them down in. Now here's where the tape comes in. I don't want to lose those screws, so just take off some tape, put it over the top, and now we know where the screws are. So put that into the detail parts baggie, and we'll get the lights out. See, now the lights come out very easily, and you probably want a pair of tweezers, set of tweezers. So there's a number board, there's a number board, and there's the light. Those will go into the clear lights, or the clear parts baggie. So drop those in the clear parts baggie, put that aside. The dynamic brake hatch I also put into the detail parts baggie, so there's that in there. Now, if you're buying an undecorated model, nothing should be glued onto it, but unfortunately they glue this number board and light housing piece onto it. So, on all the models, only one side was glued on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a small chisel blade. Looks like I've got more than 2 items that we need. So we've got chisel blade, we've got a knife, we've got tweezers, we got screwdriver, and a blade screwdriver. So what I'll do to get this off, I'm going to have to break the pins off. So I'll stick it into one side and lift it. This side's not glued on. On one of them, both sides were glued on. So this side's not glued on, so I'll get the blade up under there and I'll just slide it down, and hopefully I can just easily snap I'm going to cut myself. And while holding it, I actually put too much pressure on this tab, so I'll glue that tab on. When I'm done with this model, the cab's going to probably be glued back on, so I'm not too concerned about that, but they should not be gluing these number boards on. If anything, just put the number boards in the detail parts bag. But they don't even need to do that. They don't need to glue these number boards on. They could just pin them on. There we go. There's one pin, and there's the other pin. Okay, so this pin and this pin were glued on. So this will never be strong again once you break it, but that's all right. I'm not concerned about it. So this part will go into the detail parts bag. I'm going to take some Tamiya thin cement and put it a little there. Let it soften the plastic. And there we go. So that will go into the bag, into the big baggie. And now it's time to take the deck off of the hood. So to do that, they've got these tabbed and clipped. So you got clips in the front. So you got clips in the front, in the back, and tabs and clips along the walkway. So these guys are loads of fun to take apart, but when they're together, they're very, very positive and strong. So to get them to come apart, you want to take the deck, tilt it up or down, and lift. So I'm taking the deck. Now the blower duct side is going to be a little bit tougher. Taking the deck down and lift. Pushing the tabs in on the nose. There we go. So on this one, it doesn't like to move too much, so I'll take the tabs in. There we go. That one's out. This one will go out all right. Tabs on the back. Now I just have this one to do, which it should come off. There we go. So there's the deck. Now that I have the deck off, we're going to make sure on the screws for the couplers that there's no plastic in them. And we're going to put those right back in their holes. And just make sure they thread in straight. You don't want to cross thread them. Like that. Now if you hear them humming in the background, that's my air conditioner. I should probably turn the fan down, but it keeps it comfy in here. And there's the other screw. Put it on the other end. And just give it a couple little turns. Keep it in place so we don't lose it. There we go. And I'll just put that back into the project box over the mechanism that it came off of. There we go. Alright. Now we got a couple more things to take out. On the back, on the light housing, there's some more screws to take out inside of here. Take the screwdriver, go in and take the screws out. And this light housing should just pop out. There's one screw. There we go. And everything just pops out. Now the rear light glass won't just pop out. You have to pull that straight back. Just wiggle it and pull it straight back. There we go. Now that's good for that. There's a light bar, there's the class lights, the rear lights, and the number boards. So those are going to go into the clear parts baggie. Like that. And these screws, clean them out again. Like I said, you don't want any plastic in there. We're going to put those back on the part. Put those back on the part. There's a little bit of flash on there that I'm going to have to clean up. And put some tape over that. Hold the screws where they need to be. So this way, all the screws, I don't have to figure out, oh, where did those screws go and where did those screws go. So that goes in the parts baggie. And that's it for the detail parts baggie, so that can go back into the big bag. The last thing we need to do is take out the class lights. Now at first I was like, oh my gosh, they glued the class lights in. But actually they did glue them in, but they used like a white glue. So it comes out really, really easy. So what I do is I take a knife, my chisel knife, and I just cut into the glue and peel it back. You're not cutting plastic or anything, you're just peeling the glue back. Because there's a strip of glue, it's like they put it in the nose and they let it dribble down over the sight glass. Then I just take a small chisel or a small blade screwdriver, stick it on there and just wiggle it a little bit. Then I take my tweezers, get it in there, wiggle, and it pulls straight back. And here you can see the white glue just comes right off. So I'll put that class light in the clear parts baggie. And we just have the other light to get out. Just pull it straight back, came right out. This one didn't have any glue on it at all. Oh, there was some in there, but it wasn't that much. That'll go into the clear parts baggie, and all the parts are now off the model. So I just want to get that little bit of glue out of there. There we go. And now I've got 4 shells that I can start working on. So in the next video, I'm going to go over what these models are going to be, what prototype I picked for these models. But in this video, I just wanted to get started. Maybe some people didn't know how these models come apart. So I wanted to give a little, I don't want to say tutorial, but a look-see or how-to on easily getting these undecorated models apart. And the decorated models will come apart in the same fashion, but I just love having undecorated models. So hopefully you enjoyed that. It's not a long video, and I hope you'll come back to see the start of the new build on these 4 models.